What we're seeing is not the beginning of the end, but the end of the beginning, and people will have heard a lot of commentators say that during the course of today. We're seeing the end of the withdrawal agreement becoming a realistic possibility, but all we have at the moment is the political agreement that will result in now the drafting of the legal agreement for withdrawal. And I think the devil will be in the detail. For Gibraltar, so often one letter can have a meaning in the context of the issues that we face with Spain in particular. So we will be looking now at the detail of that withdrawal agreement. But this has also opened up the possibility of a future trade agreement being negotiated between the United Kingdom and the European Union, because sufficient progress, those key words, has been achieved according to the joint negotiators, Mr. Barnier and Mr. Davis. That is now recommended to the Commission and to the Council as the step that should be taken now. And in that new trade agreement, in that process of agreeing that new trade agreement, there are now options as a result of the Irish aspect, resulting in an agreement for continued regulatory alignment. There are now options in that future trade agreement which could lead to something that looks like a softer Brexit than the hard Brexit that some have been advocating. Indeed, you might even make the argument that we're heading towards a technical Brexit rather than a hard Brexit as we might have been envisaging some weeks ago.
Of course, no specific mention of Gibraltar, and we weren't expecting any at this stage. But in terms of the Northern Ireland border and the agreements made there, what does that mean for us?
Let's be clear about a number of things. First of all, the Irish border with the Republic of Ireland, the Northern Irish border with the Republic of Ireland, is the only border the United Kingdom has with the rest of the European Union. Gibraltar is not part of the definition of United Kingdom. But for European legal purposes, there is a case in the European Court of Justice that people will be aware of recently that said that for European Union purposes, the member state United Kingdom includes Gibraltar. And so therefore this withdrawal agreement includes Gibraltar, although there have been arguments by some suggesting we should not be included in it. The issue of citizens' rights certainly did affect Gibraltar, because in there you could see all of the panoply of issues that have been relevant to the daily lives of all of those of us who have been members of the European Union, and that means people who have been crossing the Gibraltar-Spain frontier also, and their rights to access the workplace in Gibraltar or in Spain if there were anyone going in the opposite direction, the right to live in one member state and work in another. There are many Gibraltarians, British citizens, who live in Spain and come to Gibraltar to work. So all of these things are now resolved in the context of the political agreement. Now, the issue of the border with Northern Ireland has set up the question of alignment, so that there is no border in the Irish Sea and no border on the island of Ireland, and that may have interesting consequences in the context of the negotiation of the future trade agreement. But it's not a direct parallel in respect of our border, because remember, we have no agreement of common travel area with the EU. That is to say, we never form part of the Schengen travel area, which is what deals with persons, and we are not part of the Common Customs Union, because we chose not to be in 1972, which is also something that covers movement across the Northern Irish Republic of Ireland frontier. So don't read too much into that aspect of it, but do understand that this can condition what it is that the United Kingdom can now seek in the context of the future trade agreement.
As the months go on and some of the details of these agreements start to emerge, can we expect to see more specific references as to how these agreements will apply to us?
We have a very clear understanding of what the implications for Gibraltar are and what the implications for British citizens in this part of the world, including all of the 32,000 Gibraltarians who are British citizens, may be, and how our rights are preserved in the future in the context of access to the European Union. Whether we access the European Union from London by travelling on the Eurostar into Paris, or we access the European Union by crossing the frontier between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, or we access the European Union at the frontier between Gibraltar and Spain, our rights as people, what lawyers call our in personam rights, will be identical to those of any other British citizens.